The people united will never be defeated. Two more times. The people united will never be defeated. One more time. The people united will never be defeated. All right. We want to thank everybody who's here supporting the cause. You guys all know why we're here. We want to thank ALEC for bringing us together because we have to do something about it. I want to recognize the groups that are here who've organized this cause. I want to thank the Solid Dream Team for being here and supporting the cause. Also, the Revolutionary Students Union. United for Social Justice. Come on, guys, loud! The Mexican Federation of Clubs. The Industrial Workers of the World. If you're hungry, if you're thirsty, we have refreshments over there by that little wagon. There's sweets, elotes, if you guys know what that is. It's corn with delicious goods on top of it. And we have chicharrones. With that said, we have the Solid Dream Team. We have a member that is walking started on March 10th from California and is walking to Washington with four other undocumented youth. Their purpose is to raise awareness of immigration rights and more importantly, to pass the DREAM Act. We have some of those streets over there to raise donations, so please, anybody who can go over there, get some food and donate. We really help. Right now they're in Kansas, they're in the heat, so they're really needing some support so we can send to them, so we really appreciate that. The first speaker that I want to introduce, handsome fellow, Tino, Diaz, come on up. He's from the Revolutionary Students Union. They're anti-capitalist, pro-immigrant workers, students, and rights organization. Give him a round of applause. Welcome him in. Thank you.
All right. Can everybody hear me right here? Yeah? Yeah. Is it working? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's working here.
All right. So I want to just start out by saying I'm glad that everybody's here. I'm glad to see all these organizations and groups working together to produce this wonderful event. So thank you to all of you who helped and led this event. My name is Augustin Diaz, but most people know me by Tino, so I'm Tino. And I just want to start off by saying this very thing, that this hate, these forces against immigrants and undocumented individuals has gone on for far way too long. And it's been going on, and it needs to stop right now. The debate, controversy, lawmaking, bank building, all of this happens and continues to happen, and it is way too much. What we all need to understand is that it occurs on the backs of others. The undocumented population is a real population. They are not a group of people that come and go, just phases out of our society, see them one day and forget them the next. No. They are one of the main thread lines of the fabric of this society, in the respect of family, education, labor, and growth. But we should not view them as simply contributors to what we have here. We need to begin viewing them as something more profound, as someone like one of us, you and me. ALEC goes around and gathers corporate dollars to encourage the process of prisons and policies that specifically target a certain group of people. As they target those kinds of demographics, profits are considered in response to that kind of organizing. In other words, prisons and camps are built for undocumented children, women, and men, for families. Policies and laws are manufactured for the removal of these individuals at the benefit of big business and their political benefactors. There is no humanity in this, nor is this the imprint that our society should leave as a legacy for our children. I want to touch around the attacks on labor and immigration, but also focus on education and the impact of these attacks. Before any of that, I want to start off with a story. And now I know someone back in Utah County is a student. He goes to UVU. I call him Alex. And I do high school visits as part of our Latino student program. And on one of these visits, I've always taken young Hispanic students with me to these visits. And I asked him to come with me, and I asked him to share his story. I didn't know what his story was, but I asked him to share it. So we go to one of the high schools, and it's like a little mini assembly for Latino students, and he goes up to share his story. And so as a child, Alex was born in Mexico, and southern Mexico, and his family decided they wanted better opportunities. So he went up with his family to northern Mexico, where they found a coyote. And that's just someone who kind of brings them over the border. And they got hooked up and paid quite a bit for their organization. And so they passed through border towns, and they were going through the desert. And he had an experience with his family. They put him in a room for one night with a bunch of other people, and just said, stay here, you'll be fine, we're just going to come get you in the morning. And in the middle of the night, Alex and his family were awakened by these men that just came storming in with these huge guns and black masks. And he said it was one of the most terrifying nights of his life because his father held him pretty tightly, and his mother and sisters were around as well. And he just recalls that event. He describes it with such fear and such remorse that that this actually happened. And so, and I'm not going to say everything about what happened because it's really sad about his story, but it just never left them as a group. And Alex's family, they suffered throughout the walk, throughout the desert. His mother actually died in the desert. Nothing was done to recuperate the body, to recover the body or anything like that. And so he has some pretty good horror stories of that. But in mentioning that story, the attacks on immigration in the States right now, these attacks do not consider these stories. All right, these stories are actually, they're all around, and they may be lesser in some quality, but they're still stories. And what our laws and policies should prioritize is not the deportation and subjugation of these individuals, but the protection and assistance of these people as they pass through and as they come to the United States. Protection so that cartels do not hassle or murder immigrants along the border. Protection from large corporate entities that exploit these workers as soon as they enter the United States. Instead, laws and policies are going up that make states like Alabama enforce immigration procedures for elementary school kids. Ridiculous and horrible. Shuts off water when inspecting for a social, and when getting pulled over, finding out whether a person is illegal or not. But upon what judgment? Upon what factor? It just doesn't add up. Thousands of millions of dollars are shipped in to assure that a pipeline exists of undocumented citizens being cracked down on with imprisonment and removals, so that someone can make it up to a higher government office. The election process is dirty, sullied with private and corporate dollars. Other states are working on this as well, or have considered it, including our own. And this is a tide that must be stopped. That must be responded with public reactions just like this. And so I want to applaud you guys. So thank you so much for being here, because this is what needs to happen, and it's what needs to continue as well if something is to be done. And hate crimes against minorities of color continue to grow, especially against young Hispanics who are blamed for immigration, for the immigration debate. While there are many that have happened, I remember of one that happened several years ago, not too far from where I grew up in New York. A young Ecuadorian immigrant who had papers actually was ruthlessly beaten to death by 4 young teenagers who were acquitted and released after those charges went through. And there have been similar instances all across the United States. These laws and attacks do not change the rhetoric, they simply enhance it. Enhance it to the point where society begins to point the finger. And this kind of reaction usually begins a chain of events we often regret in history. The exploitation of undocumented workers, students, and families is inhumane. Thousands of children on border towns in the north and south pick through acres of fields throughout the harvest. This often goes unchecked. Again, money floods the legislation that will remove them, and if not removed, avoids the copper-toned hands that puts food on our tables and on their tables. ALEC and its benefactors will continue to fund and sponsor legislation and actions against the undocumented or immigrant population. And as long as profit is considered, nothing seems impossible. However, I stand with you all here today and claim that this family of mine, our brothers and sisters, do not deserve this. They have passed through enough and continue to do so. So I make my cry to understand to the undocumented worker who stands in poultry factories for 12 hours with little pay, for the immigrant student who deals with ESL classes that do not even consider them, or is hammered down with legislation that will provide obstacles in the path of education instead of opportunities. And so I stand here as a witness today to those things that are happening, continue to happen. We must stop this, and to do this we must continue to gather and organize and hope for better things and actually act upon these things. And so that's really what I'm here to say, and that ALEC must be brought down with these things, or they must be at least brought to some kind of action to what's going on. We can't just hold an ignorant face to this. And so, as Comrade Shea once said, hasta la victoria para siempre, gracias a todos. Thank you for everybody.